Hello everybody, today it's me back with Luna the Math Cat, and we're going to talk about solving equations, one-step equations, using multiplication and division today. So, the multiplication property of equality, this is a super important one that you need to know. Okay, when you multiply both sides of an equation by the same non-zero number, the two sides remain equal. So, you can multiply both sides by any number you want except for 0. You can't use that one. Anything else is fair game though. Okay, so examples. So if I had 8 divided by 4, that equals 2. We know that. 8 divided by 4 equals 2. So if I multiplied both sides of this equation by 4, that would cancel out because 8 divided by 4 times 4 is just going to be 8, and then 2 times 4 is 8. So we show that it works. Okay, both sides remain equal. So we use that for problems like this. Okay, x divided by 4 is 2, so we would solve this by multiplying both sides of the equation by 4. That makes the division go away there. It leaves me with just x here, and then 2 times 4 is 8. So this one allows me to solve an equation. This one just shows that it's true. Okay, so here's another theorem. The product of a non-zero number n, so it can't be 0, but anything else, and its reciprocal 1 over n is always 1. All right, so 5 times 1/5. The reciprocal of a number is just, you flip it over. So remember, 5 is a fraction. It's 5 over 1. And I flip it over, I get 1/5. So 5 times 1/5. Remember, if I do this, 5 times 1 is 5. And 1 times 5 is 5. And 5 over 5 is just 1. Okay. So n times 1 over n equals 1. All right, so if we look at it this way, I put it over, I'm sorry, not over n, over 1. Come on. Okay, n times 1 is n, and 1 times n is n, and n over n is 1. So I can do this with any number. So for example, if I had the fraction 5/2, its reciprocal would be 2/5, and I would multiply that together. That would be 10 over 10, which would be 1. So there you go. So solve w over 4 equals 12. So on this one, since we're dividing by 4, we're going to multiply both sides of this equation by 4. So that makes this go away. I get w equals 48. And if I wanted to check that, I could take 48, divide it by 4, and I get 12. Very simple. Okay, solve 2/7 times x equals 6. Okay. So on this one, I would want to take the reciprocal of 2/7. That's going to be 7/2. And I'm going to multiply both sides of this equation by 7/2. Okay, so what happens? Well, I've got a 7 on the top and a 7 on the bottom, so they cancel. And I've got a 2 on the bottom and a 2 on the top, so they cancel. So this just goes away and leaves me with x. And remember, this is 6 over 1, so this is 6 times 7 is 42 over 2. And 42 over 2 is just 21. So x is 21. Okay, so you do these. A over 8 equals 6, 14 equals 2y over 5, and 3z divided by 2 is 9. I'll give you a minute to pause this video, do those 3 problems, and then jump back on here and make sure you got them right. Okay, this first one, piece of cake. I'm dividing by 8 here, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 8. This goes away, I'm left with a equals 6 times 8 is 48. And I'm done. Okay, this one was a little tricky. because, and I didn't mention this on the previous page, but I probably should have, 2y over 5. That's the same thing as 2/5 times y. Okay? The reason that you write it like this sometimes is so you don't have people confused about that. This is not the same thing as this, and it's not the same thing as this. So you got to be super careful about that. This is why I do not like it when students write fractions like this. Okay? Because this looks to be 2 over 5x when really it probably means 2x over 5. Okay, so do not get in the habit of writing your fractions like that in algebra class. Okay, so how am I going to do this? Well, I can do it a couple of ways. I can do it in one step or two. Okay, I'm dividing by 5, so what I could do is just multiply both sides by 5. That makes that go away. Okay, it leaves me with 2y on one side, and it leaves me with, what is that, 70 on the other side. Okay, and now I can just take this and do a second step where I divide by 2, and I get y equals 35. Okay, now the other way that I could do this, if I wanted to do it all in one step, is I could just multiply this, both sides of this, by 5/2. Okay, so the 2 on the bottom cancels the 2 on the top, the 5 on the top cancels the 5 on the bottom, and I just get y. And here, it doesn't matter if I go 14 times 5 divided by 2 or 14 divided by 2 times 5. In fact, that would be easier. 14 divided by 2 would be 7, and 7 times 5 would be 35, which is the same thing that we got up here. So I don't care which way you do it, whatever floats your boat. Have at it. Just make sure that you do it correctly. Okay, on this last one here, we've got 3z divided by 2, so what we would want to do is we'd want to multiply both sides by 2. And in fact, you know what? I don't even like the way this is written. I'm going to rewrite this thing first. I'm going to rewrite it like this. 3z divided by 2 equals 9, like that. Okay. Now, if I use the reciprocal property, I would multiply this thing by 2/3 on both sides. And again, okay, I've got a 2 on the top and a 2 on the bottom, so they cancel. A 3 on the bottom, a 3 on the top, so they cancel. I'm left with z. 9 divided by 3 would be 3 times 2 would be 6. Or you can do 9 times 2 is 18, divided by 3 is also 6, whichever way. Okay, so hopefully you got 48, 35, and 6. Okay, division property of equality. When you divide each side of an equation by the same non-zero number, the two sides remain equal. Okay, notice it says divide by the same non-zero number. You can never divide by 0, but you can divide by any other number you want, and this still works. Okay, so if I look here at this is just an example to show, we know that 8 times 4 is 32. If I were to divide both sides of this by 4, that would go away, and I would get 8 on this side. And 32 divided by 4 is 8. And so 8 equals 8, we know it's true. So that's an example of the division property of equality. So I can use that over here. I could divide both sides of this by 4. This goes away. X is 32 divided by 4, which is 8. Okay, solve this one. So 5 times x is 65. This is a real simple one. I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides of this by 5. This goes away. I'm left with x, which is what I want to know. 65 divided by 5, everybody knows that's 13. And there we go. X is 13. And if I really wasn't sure and wanted to check it, I could just plug 13 in there. 13 times 5 should be 65. Let's see, that's 15, carry my 1, 5, plus 1 is 6. Oh, look at that, it worked out. Okay, so you pause the video and do these, then jump back on here, and check that you got them right. Okay, this one here, q times 3 is 18. We're going to go ahead and divide both sides by 3. It's going to make that go away. I'm going to be left with q. 18 divided by 3 is 6. Q is 6. I can check that. Plug 6 in for q. 6 times 3 is 18. Yep, it worked. Okay, over here, I'm going to divide both sides by 12. Makes that go away. Q is 5, because 60 divided by 12 is 5. And if I wanted to check it, I could plug the 5 in there. 12 times 5, let's see, that would be 10. Carry my 1. 5 plus 1 is 6. Oh, look at that, it worked. So hopefully you got 6 and 5. All right, so you're going to get to do 1 through 37 on this assignment, and I will see you guys in class.